Hello there. Welcome back to the Suit Up Geek Fix podcast. We are here today to review Obi-Wan Kenobi's series finale. It'll be a spoiler-filled review. It had a lot of great moments. Please check it out on Disney Plus if you haven't. My name's Lo, representing the heat of sunny California right now. I'm thankfully not sweating as much as I was earlier. Over here we got Mr. Crockpot, aka Dibes. How are you, my friend?
Hello there. What's going on, man? That made me laugh out loud pretty good, man. That was hilarious. Doing good, man. Excited to talk about an episode that I thought was absolutely terrific. I wish the majority of this season delivered like episode 6 did here, but so many positives. I'm excited to talk about it.
Oh yeah, and once more, spoilers. If you haven't seen it, we are gonna just dig right in. And I gotta say, I think when this project was announced, I want to say like 1-2 years ago, kind of when The Mandalorian was starting to, break onto the scene, and they were starting to plan all these different projects. This was originally supposed to be a film, if I'm not mistaken. It was supposed to be like Kenobi, a Star Wars story, a lot like Darth Pooh's back. What's up, man? He said the show was amazing and terrible all at once. And look, I don't know if I'll go as far as to say terrible, but it was definitely uneven. And like I said, this was originally announced as a film. And when I got to this season finale, I couldn't help but think like what, James Mangold or Jon Favreau could have done with a film of this property. And I think that the film would have cut a lot of fat. It would have eliminated some things that really bothered me. Like, I'll be honest, I think Reva's an interesting character. I just don't care for the way she was written, and just knowing what happens with Luke and Owen and Aunt Beru, and there's no suspense in that entire sequence of her stalking them in their home and stuff. And it's like, did nothing for me. But besides that, though, the highs were some of the highest highs we've had in a long time. And this is even referencing Book of Boba Fett, man. We got the big showdown. And I think it was like akin to the fan-made film that came out. I don't know if you saw that on YouTube, where they recut the Death Star fight and then they made it more exciting. It felt like the love child of that, and also just the thought, like, what if Kenobi did fight Vader and he was at his full strength? And I think that question is what drove this show even to exist. And I think it was worth it when we got what we got. We're gonna dig into that scene later, and also just overall, I think the connection with Leia was beautiful. Whether or not it retconned, like me and Leo were talking about this, like whether or not it retconned, like, New Hope, because in A New Hope, Leia almost acts like she doesn't know who Ben is, right? Yeah. But then we get this tender moment between them, like, will I ever see you again? And, oh, if you ever need an old man for something, hit me up. And it was beautiful, but at the same time, it's like, it's one way to tie the threads together. But all in all, like I said, the highs were gorgeous. I got choked up a little bit. Really great emotional moments. And Ewan McGregor, I feel like, as much as I didn't enjoy everything, this show was definitely an ode to him as well. Like an ode to him as Obi-Wan. This is a farewell in a way. It felt like he did everything he could for this character. He put his heart onto this screen for us. And for that, I'm really, really happy with what we got in this finale. What about you?
Yeah, I thought it was amazing. I thought, for better or worse, like Darth Pooh said, like it got better and better and better. And then it really ended well. And kudos to Deborah Chow for ending it on a high note. There's, like Loretta said, there's a lot of ups and downs in this show, a lot of highs, just like my opinion on Stranger Things. Like, some of the awesome moments were crazy, but you could probably watch a YouTube clip on them, and I probably won't watch the show ever again. But I can say that I'm getting some echo on my end. Hold on a sec. I can say that this was definitely a lot better than I wanted for the Obi-Wan finale. I thought, like, I have so many thoughts about this. Like, I'm just really glad that Luke was unconscious and he didn't have a chance to see Reva's lightsaber. Because I was thinking that the whole time, like the memory of being chased with a Sith with a red lightsaber, that's going to be burned inside of Luke's brain. And that would just change everything that we know about Luke. And I'm not gonna lie, like I I wasn't expecting Vader to get truly messed up like he did in this finale. That was really, really cool. I thought the mixing of Hayden and James Earl Jones's voices was the standout here. That really gave me the same vibes as we've seen in Star Wars Rebels with James Earl Jones and Matt Lanter when Vader and Ahsoka fought in Twilight of the Apprentice, which was freaking great. I was like pointing at the TV the whole time with that. It was so good because it was like the same kind of dialogue, but it went in so many different ways. Like while Obi-Wan said, "My friend is truly dead, goodbye," you had Ahsoka saying, "I won't leave you, not this time." And that's so fun to think about. And it's even more fun to think about when you think about Vader's mask was broken on one side, and then for Ahsoka was broken on the other. And then it gets even more fun to think about it when you think Luke took off the entire mask without fighting, with zero violence. It's just really cool, really freaking cool. And this was the first time I think you saw Anakin under the mask, and that was freaking fantastic. I thought Hayden did an incredible job showing so many emotions in such a subtle fashion. The way his expression went from hurt to sadness to like that sinister grin was just the right kind of eerie. And Anakin's downfall, man, I thought they did it justice. I thought Anakin's story is so tragic, and to see his face behind that mask was just beautiful. Hayden absolutely nailed it. I had problems with the show overall, but the finale was great. It was the first time that like I thought the show had some soul. And there were some emotional beats that we'll talk about, moments that we'll talk about, and I just wish we had more of that. So for me, I loved it. Hold on.
Darth Pooh said, if you notice the mask damage Kenobi did,
Yeah.
the scar on his head in Return of the Jedi, which that's a good catch. I actually didn't catch that. I was half asleep when I watched this, but yeah, let's dive into memorable moments, man. There's so many really, really good moments I want to talk about, and I'm gonna kick it off right here. You know, I had a feeling where we were going, right? When he leaves the ship, you know, Vader follows him to that desolate, rocky planet, whatever. I saw the setup, gorgeous wide shots.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, I really, really like the opening exchange where Vader was like, "Are you here to destroy me, Obi-Wan?" And then, you know, in his brilliant fashion, just reinvigorating the spirit he had when he was once a Jedi Master. "I will do what I must." And then he got into his stance with his hand. I was like, let's go. You know, it just showed that he was back. Like, kind of, he had like a John Wick moment. Like, yeah, Kenobi is back. He's thinking he's back. That was just really epic. And I liked the choreography. I thought this was the kind of battle I think that we didn't get in A New Hope, that diehard fans have always wondered, like, what would Vader and Kenobi actually have looked like? Because in Revenge of the Sith, he was more or less fighting Anakin, you know, as himself. So I thought that was really interesting. And I liked the fact that the way this battle played out definitely made more sense for Vader's line in A New Hope, where he's like, you know, "When I left you, I was, but, you know, but now I am the master." And I think that tied in well because Obi-Wan obviously got the better of him here. So, yeah, that was one of them. And also I want to shout out, actually, you know what? I'll let you take a couple, dude. There's so many. Go ahead, man.
The Anakin reveal and forgiving Obi-Wan moment was really cool. When you saw Anakin's face under the mask, just kind of what I talked about. He said, Vader goes, "I am not your failure, Obi-Wan. You did not kill Anakin. I did." That made me think a lot. That made me think way more than I was expecting watching an Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Like, was that like good Anakin inside Darth Vader telling Obi-Wan straight up that it's not his fault? And was that Anakin kind of accepting responsibility for himself, but in a twisted way? Like Vader was kind of took over at that last moment. Was that like Anakin's last hurrah to say that he's still in there? I don't know. Yeah. That was a really cool moment.
I caught me off guard too. But also, it plays so well into Kenobi's story for Luke. Darth Vader murdered and killed your father. You know, like that holds so much more meaning now. You know, so
we're gonna be talking about like overall series, but I think what this series did was really strengthen A New Hope in so many levels. Just like the Clone Wars did for Attack of the Clones, like this series did for A New Hope. That's just my opinion. Darth Pooh says if you the writers have a narrow path to travel due to the OT, but they are the ones who felt they could take on the challenge. There's too much messed up canon for me to be cool. I agree, man. The writing was horrible at parts. There's definitely some big time issues. And the Obi-Wan hello there with Luke was so funny. I don't know why, but I laughed so hard. It was so fitting for Ben to say that to Luke. It's the first thing we hear Ben say in A New Hope, and it fits so well as part of his vernacular as he's like introducing himself to Luke for the first time. And I laughed so hard at how thrilled Ewan McGregor looked after saying that, and it was just awesome. Do you remember that scene? He goes, "Hello there."
Yeah, no, 100%. No, it put a huge smile on my face. Smile on my face. And like I said, that was one of like 3 or 4 moments where I was just grinning ear to ear. For example, Vader's send off. You were looking for it. They gave it to you here with him pulling away with the Imperial March.
Love it.
That was beautiful because they really built up to it. You know what I mean? Like we weren't quite to where we knew him, and now that's how he established that hate that carried him through the Empire for the next 30 years. Go ahead.
Yeah, talk about like epic, because pretty much the entire season you hear Darth Vader saying, get Obi-Wan, don't kill everyone. We want Obi-Wan. And you just saw the power of Palpatine there at the very end. Darth goes, Obi-Wan is nothing. And just shows you that how much Darth or Anakin never truly became a master. And it's just sad. It's just like I thought it was beautifully well written. The score, I kind of like the score in this series. I guess I'm in the minority because I see a lot of hate on it. I guess it's pretty divisive, but I thought it grew on me. But we got the Leia score. They got the Leia theme in that final moment, man. That was awesome. That was so good. And you're right, man.
That got me, bro.
The buildup of that was so effective. It was so good. Like, because we've been on these reviews every week saying, I want the Imperial March. And then we finally got it in this series finale. And now that just made it all that more fun.
So you brought up Palpatine, which was a huge surprise, and I was so happy to see Ian McDiarmid. He's always fantastic, but my heart soared when we saw Master Qui-Gon Jinn in the desert. That really made my day. I was almost worried that we weren't going to get it. I kept waiting for it. I was thinking like on the ship, he's going to turn the corner and Qui-Gon would just be sitting on the bench or something like clever. And the way they did it, though, it worked out. And I think even though he didn't say much, it was enough to kind of give closure to the moment and show us where Obi-Wan eventually ends up. And we know where he ends up. He force ghosts with Luke and he learns the way of that. And that really put a huge smile on my face as well, man. How did you like that moment?
It was awesome. Of course I wanted more. I'm not going to lie. Like I wanted more, especially from Qui-Gon and not in the last few minutes, but it makes so much sense. You had, Anakin, or I guess Darth Vader, with his master and Palpatine, and then you have Obi-Wan and his master with Qui-Gon. It just worked. It really, talk about best moments, and Darth Pooh's talk about writing. Like this was the best writing of the series, I thought. The scene when Kenobi walks away from Vader. He thought he killed him in Revenge of the Sith. He thought he was dead for 10 years. And I love the fact that Kenobi decides to spare him because he never liked the idea of having to kill him all those years ago in the first place. Like, that's not the Jedi way. And in that moment, you saw, like, what was underneath, Vader's mask. And it was all a mistake, despite the situation when he was, like, apologizing. Like, I apologize, all of it. And it was just beautiful. It was beautifully well done. I thought... I just want more of this. If this is like what we're expecting in potentially a season 2, I'm in. But
yeah, no, the closure was beautiful for sure. It was nice for Obi to get closure. Darth Pooh saying, you know why Qui-Gon was able to come back when others before him couldn't? He had a particular well said, Darth Pooh. Yeah, so let's kind of go into let's grade this finale. I think it clocked in at like 69 minutes, right, with credits.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna be honest, every time we cut to Owen or Reva, did not care. There was zero stakes for me. Like, I like her as an actress. Moses Ingram is a great actress. I'd love to see her in other things, do other work, but it just, there's no suspense. I mean, we hear she's getting a spinoff. We know Luke survives. We know Uncle Owen survives. That whole sequence just did not matter to me. And I feel like I said, if this would have all been condensed into a film and we can eliminate some of those moments like that, we can eliminate the fake, Kumail Nanjiani Jedi, like stuff like that. Just cut the fat. I liked Tala. I liked Roken, that's his name, right? The little like small faction of the rebels, but I just feel like, what happened to Sung Kang? Sung Kang disappeared from the face of the universe.
Or the Grand Inquisitor was missed up.
Look at the marketing, right? You look at the marketing, and they really like build up Rupert Friend as this like epic villain. He gets stabbed in the chest in season 2 or episode 2. He's gone the whole season, and then he has 3 lines after that. Like a lot of questionable things here. That I think it looked cool on paper. It was cool concept wise. I bet the concept art looked gorgeous for this, but tying it together was really kind of so in terms of the way they put it together. So as a finale, the highs obviously take me up, but then, like I said, the Reva thing, it dragged this episode longer than it should have. Roken is Ice Cube's kid. Yep. O'Shea Jackson. He's a great actor. He's in Straight Outta Compton. Good call, Darth Pooh.
Totally.
Yeah, I think if I had to grade it, maybe like an 8.
Wow. Interesting. Yeah.
I just like the fact that like there was no suspense with the Reva stuff and the fight between Vader and Obi-Wan was phenomenal, but I can't give it like a 9 or a 10 just on the fight alone, in my opinion. And I guess Reva was supposed to die. She was a rewrite, and I wouldn't doubt it. I know this show got chopped to pieces in the writing department. I think maybe that's why. I think it's showing the conflict of, hey, the studio says to do this. The original draft was this, and Deborah Chow's kind of just gluing it together. That's what this feels like for sure. What about you, man? What would you grade it?
I agree with Wesley. I thought the finale might have been the most satisfying finale on Disney Plus. I thought it was a great finale. I'm probably in that 9 out of 10 range for me. I thought Hayden in that Star Wars Rebels style slice mask was by far the best thing that came out of this series, hands down. The nods to A New Hope, the nods to Revenge of the Sith, Return of the Jedi were everywhere, and I was just having a blast. I thought this was awesome. My take on Reva, I think she's actually, I'm in the minority. I think she's a really interesting character. It's just the writing was so bad that I don't know if anybody knew what to do with her. Like, I guess so she was rewritten. So that makes a lot of sense. Maybe she meets up with Cal Kestis in the near future. That would be really, really fun. But I think there's something there with Reva. I think there's potential. And I agree, like, when like, the outcome down the road, it definitely takes away the stakes, the emotional beat of what's going on in screen. Darth Pooh says, Grand Inquisitor was terrible. That was really upsetting. That was definitely really upsetting because this show was sold as, like, if you watch Star Wars Rebels, like, and that's, like, one of my favorite shows of all time, you thought you were going to get helicopter lightsabers with the Grand Inquisitor. We got one sequence of that. And that was with Reva against Vader. That's not good enough. Like, you could have, like, you talk about missed opportunities. Like, you could have had some sort of setup, whether it was like Obi-Wan versus a trio of Grand Inquisitors or Reva, on getting Obi-Wan's back and they're fighting the Inquisitors. Like, there could have been something there that would have been really, really fun. And if you go back to our reviews, I predicted what was going to happen with Reva. So the writing was entirely predictable. I saw it coming. It didn't take away anything from the finale for me. I think my my stance is I haven't been that high on this show overall, and I wasn't expecting the finale to stick the landing like they did, and it was way better than I expected. So I'm going to stick with a 9.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Like I said, those highs really, really carried it for me. I think the reason why I gave it a more of a lower score was just I'm upset. I'm disappointed. I'm bitter. It's a bittersweet finale because it just makes me think what we could have had.
Exactly.
And it's not what we got. Like that's my problem. Like when I'm happy, when I'm like watching that fight, when I'm watching the Imperial March and they put Leia's theme on that little goodbye when she was saying her goodbyes to Obi-Wan, and it was beautiful, but it's just like the whole series didn't feel like that. It didn't have the same spirit. A lot of wasted opportunities. And here's my thing too. Why in the hell are all of these people just immune to lightsaber stabs? Like it's like, oh, it's a flesh wound. Like I don't understand. Like that really bothered me. Like
the back to the tank is like everywhere. There must be one like in every corner.
I mean, like it makes Qui-Gon's death feel cheap.
That's true.
Qui-Gon took a quick little stab in the stomach the exact same way Reva did, and Reva was fine. She ended up in Tatooine with a cloth around her stomach. I don't even think she went into back to take dives. Like she had a freaking like she probably like ripped off her robe and tied it around her stomach. Like, what is this? Like the logic that killed me. Like it's just like the lightsaber is supposed to be deadly. When you get stabbed, you're done. That really bothered me in terms of logic. I know I'm nitpicking at this point for that, but that just really didn't sit well with me. And
I agree.
Yeah, so let's go into what do you think this means for the Star Wars universe as a whole? Do you think we're going to get more better shows? Do you think that they're stretching themselves thin? Because it left me with a bad taste in my mouth for sure. What about you, Dubs?
Yeah, I'm in the same stance as I was before. Like they should have let the Skywalker saga go. I mean, that's just how I felt before the series, and that's how I feel before the series. I was never truly on board with with the direction of the show. I was never on board with Princess Leia getting a much bigger role in this series. That was totally unexpected. I think if they were to do a season 2, I would hope that we go away from the Skywalker saga and give us something a little more refreshing, something more fresh, something we haven't seen before, characters we haven't seen before. That would be my hope for a sequel. Like there's so much to explore. There really is, like from Star Wars Rebels to building that up to Ahsoka and the search for Ezra down the line. Like there's so much to explore that I think would have been a better decision. So really at the end of the day, for me, it comes to the Skywalker saga. We keep hearing Star Wars saying we're done with it. It's time to move on. That was my biggest take after the last film. Was it The Rise of Skywalker? Like I'm done with it. Like, but they keep going back to it. Let's do it. I'm down for a season 2, but I don't know, maybe explore Darth Maul. That'd be fun since we have Qui-Gon hanging out with Obi-Wan. I don't know. We can retcon him from Star Wars Rebels.
See, again, I don't understand the logic here. If they announced Obi-Wan 2 before the finale even hit, and as much as cool as it would just be to see the Maul Kenobi ending, it's like, again, like I feel like we're gonna have 4 or 5 episodes of whatever until we get to that point.
Yeah.
So I actually want to reference this. Darth Pooh said Reva was already mechanical in the stomach. Okay.
What?
So that makes sense. So Darth Pooh saying she was stabbed as a youngling. She was mostly machine. All of the Inquisitors are mostly machine. Vader cuts them up during training to show them loss. I'm not sure if that's in EU or comics or whatever, if that's how that works. That's really interesting though, and I think that would make more sense. I'm not sure if we needed an expository dump in the show for that, because again, it wasn't really explained, it wasn't really clear, but that makes more sense. It makes me feel a little bit better about it. Wesley White is saying Disney seriously needs to focus on movies. Star Wars deserves bigger. I agree. If I'm being honest, Andor I'll watch for sure. I'll check out the Acolyte and then the new Visions and stuff. Like I'll watch it. I'll
Oh yeah.
watch it. But my interest is invested in Taika's new movies because Taika understands that for Star Wars to evolve, it needs to change, it needs to grow, it needs to not recycle material. Like for example, he said that we don't need to know about Chewbacca's grandmother in his movies. And I love that reference because there's so much nostalgia and legacy in all of like Hollywood right now. And I think I'm really excited for Taika's vision. I'm excited for Rogue Squadron. I don't know if Patty Jenkins is still involved on that, but I want to see that. I'm ready to move past what we've been regurgitating for the past 5-10 years. So
Hera would be an amazing series. There's just a ton of content that should be explored. Like Princess Leia, that was cute. That could have been like a cameo and be done. Like that's it. No, there's just way too much screen time for her.
So Darth Pooh saying it was in the Marvel comics and it's all canon. Good to know.
Okay. All right. That doesn't take away some of the positives. Like, I still think it was a decent series. Like, yeah, the writing was bad, but I thought the acting and the story got better and better as the season progressed. And I thought the series really strengthened that final encounter between Vader and Obi-Wan on the Death Star, especially when you think how Obi-Wan like basically patronizes him, tells him he can't win, and then disappears and vanishes. Basically not letting Vader beat an old man Kenobi. Like Vader's just teased like his entire adulthood of being a master. He just never, ever gets it.
What was I gonna say? God, I had a thought for a second, but I do want to highlight what Wesley's saying here. Seeing Anakin again and Vader versus Obi-Wan duel was everything he could have wanted. And besides Ahsoka, he does also want to move on from Skywalker. So yeah. Glad you agree, man. Oh yeah, I remember what I wanted to say. I mean, I know maybe I'm asking for too much, and maybe they build it in a way that I wanted more Hayden Christensen. I know a lot of people do, but I just felt like that little duel they had in what was it, episode 4 or 5? I forgot what it was. Just wasn't enough for me. Mm-hmm. And I know Dave Filoni didn't have his fingers on this project at all, but I think not having the Clone Wars kind of style, at least even just a flashback of that, I think that was a missed opportunity as well. And if I'm being honest, that's a show I want to see. If we're going to do Kenobi again, like I want to see like live action moments from Clone Wars, if I'm being honest, but
General Grievous.
No, dude, Grievous did not get enough. He played such a big role in those stories, but in Revenge of the Sith, he's kind of like ho hum. He gets dispatched fairly easily, actually. So yeah, I mean, we'll see what the future holds for Star Wars. You have any other like thoughts on the series as a whole?
I'd give it like 7.58 out of 10. I'm excited for Andor. I definitely am. I think there's a lot of Rogue One in Andor, and that makes me excited. But we kind of hit on all of that. Is that missed opportunities, time to get away from the Skywalker saga. Vader had some badass moments, some real highs in this series that were a blast. At the end of the day, though, it wasn't cohesive. There are way too many ups and downs. That's pretty much it.
I was going to say, I think I'm a lot on the other side of that. I'm leaning towards like barely a 7, maybe like a 6.8. I was just thoroughly disappointed as a whole. There's just like zero suspense. There was just a lot of chasing and a lot of like action sequences that just doesn't have any meaning to me because I know the fate of these characters. And it's something that Ryan was hammering over, beating this point over and over in the last 3 or 4 weeks, but it's true. It's a lot of like the emotional weight the audience has just is lost if we know what's going to happen.
Totally.
Darth Poos was talking about, we saw a neglected clone veteran. He was begging for change. Yeah, that was a nice little callback. See those kind of moments were too few and far between.
True.
But I think really, like I was saying, I think the show as a whole, to me, if I could watch like a good like YouTube montage of it,
exactly,
and be happy with it. I don't need to rewatch a series again. I think I'm just happy that Ewan McGregor got to put his final stamp on this. And if we do get a season 2 and it does something interesting, I'm probably going to watch, but, you know, cautiously optimistic for that one. So,
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So I think that about wraps it up for us. You think?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Cool. So, stay tuned. Are we thinking Friday for the versus?
I guess I got to see what the plan is. Probably it's not like we're doing anything, but I gotta start watching. What's that show called? The Umbrella Academy. That's definitely on my to-do list over the next like couple of days. So probably we can squeeze it in. I'm sure.
Okay. So tentatively, we will do a Obi-Wan versus Book of Boba Fett. Disney Plus Star Wars versus Disney Plus Star Wars. That'll be kind of fun to break down and highlight what we liked and didn't like again, and kind of compare the two and which show overall accomplished what they wanted to accomplish. I think that'll be fun to talk about. We also have next week Miss Marvel. We were doing it every week. We'll be doing that until the finale of that show. This Sunday we'll have a brand new roundup, all the latest breaking film and TV news. That'll be exciting. I'm also writing and reporting for the Cinema Spot. Please check out my Black Phone review. I know the film premieres tomorrow. I was lucky enough to see it last week. It's a really awesome film. I think everyone should see it, especially if you're a fan of Scott Derrickson.
Nice.
Check out my non-spoiler review at thecinemasspot.com, on Twitter at thecinemasspot. Yeah. Anything else, Debs?
Movie draft a week from tomorrow.
Right. Next week. Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Greatest heroes of all time. So we'll have 10 teams, awesome creators and media personalities joining in, picking their favorite heroes from different time periods, and it'll be a lot of fun. We have a brand new style of drafting here that's going to kind of switch things up from our usual formula. So please tune in on this channel next week. Please like and subscribe down below if you like the show, if you like the content. We have a lot more coming, like I was saying. Follow Mr. Crockpot at Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Marcellus Durden. Follow us on Twitter at the Suit Up Geeks. For Dives and myself, we'll catch you guys next time.